Hey, so we're going to do part two of my guitar collection. If you didn't know, part one is down in the description. I got a link to it. Go check that out. There's some pretty cool stuff on there. But part two, I think, has at least two of my favorite guitars. So we'll go ahead and we'll jump into that. See you in a minute. So this is a Strandberg Bowden. This one has the tremolo system on it. I haven't had this thing for a super long time. I got it from Guitar Center used, again, shocker. It's got a couple beauty marks on it, but this thing's pretty sick. Like I said, it's got those fan frets going on. It's just enough, like, that it's good. Like, you really don't notice, like, switching back and forth between, like, a regular and this. But yeah, this thing is pretty sweet. It sounds awesome. The pickups, the Strandberg pickups in this thing sound incredible. You know, yeah, this thing is sick. You know, you throw it on it does all the things you want. You put it on the Strat. But yeah, this is my main go-to. Like I said, I have this one and the other Strandberg set up right next to each other. This one's in standard, the other one's in E flat, and like I said, this is my main thing to crank on because it's, you know, small and it feels nice and it sounds really good. And like I said, over there in the corner of my desk, it's very easy to manipulate and move around and not have to worry about, you know, smacking into stuff, and it's very, you know, it's very comfortable. It's very nice to have. Absolutely incredible. Got a killer deal on it. Like I said, it's got a couple scratches, scrapes on it. But hey, it's worth a couple $100 to me. Absolutely. All right, so here we go with a bass. It's a Fender Jazzmaster. I got it on Reverb. It's USA 75th anniversary. You know, I use it for some tracks. I'm not really a bass player, but I really dig this thing. I think it sounds pretty good. Yeah, like I said, I don't know, not really a bass player. Yeah, alright, so that's enough of that. But like I said, this thing is pretty sick. Like I said, I throw it on a couple tracks in the make. You know, it's really nice, stays in tune, sounds pretty good. I don't know, I just turn everything up to max and, you know, clank away and use plugins. But like I said, I think it sounds really good. Sits in my mixes, I think, pretty well. You know, yeah, it's pretty great. It's really all you need. Yeah, I dig it. Jazz bass. Alright, so this is an acoustic Martin, I don't know, it's like some super weird, I think it's like a Guitar Center only model, maybe. Hope it sounds alright. I don't really record acoustic guitar, so I guess it's just going to be coming through this mic, and if it sounds alright, you'll see some parts at the beginning of me playing it, and if it doesn't, you'll just see this part. So, yeah, but this thing is one of the oldest guitars I have. I kind of bought this during like a little guitar hiatus I was on. Me and my buddy were messing around, and we went to the Guitar Center. He doesn't play guitar, and I hadn't touched one in a long time, and we were like, dude, we should buy guitars. So I went in the room, and this was like $3,000 or something marked down to something, and I was like, oh, I can get a credit card, I could buy it, and that'll be cool. And I kind of fell for the you know, this thing sounds as good as it's going to sound reasonably, like in the little padded room at the Guitar Center. But yeah, I mean, this thing sounds good. But yeah, like I said, everybody should have an acoustic probably. And yeah, this is the one I got. Like I said, I remember going to Guitar Center or Sam Ash as a kid, so they were right next to each other, and seeing all the Martins back up on top of the wall, and I was like, man, I really want one of those one day. And like I said, it was my first real trip in the Guitar Center as an adult, and I bought a Martin. Yeah, as you can tell, haven't really cranked out on the acoustic in a while, but like I said, it's really nice. I'll never get rid of this. Yeah, it's a nice Martin. Hey, this is my 1997 Jackson Crimson Swirl, made in Japan. Hey man, I tell you what, there's the value on these like 90s made in Japan Jacksons. Ain't no joke. I said this thing. This thing absolutely cranks. I changed the pickups to the Hetfield EMGs. I really wanted to put some EMGs in here just for like consistent, just like a consistent sound coming out of this thing. But yeah, dude, this thing is absolutely sick. I got a killer deal on this on Reverb. Yeah, like I said, I just picked this thing up and it just makes me want to play fast, even though I can't play fast. So, but yeah, like I said, I put the headset EMGs in it. I think I wired up the switch backwards, so down's the bridge and up is the neck. But that's, easy to fix. I could just swap it out. But yeah, like I said, this thing is pretty sick. So, I'm not even going to plug this in, but this is the first guitar I ever got. This is a Brownsville, New York, something. This was one of those early 2000s, like starter pack guitars that came in a box. I cranked away on this thing a lot. I didn't really learn anything on it because I was like 10 years old. And I just sat here and went, but yeah, like I said, I keep this thing. I'll probably just keep it for forever. I've thought about getting rid of it because, like I said, I never really connected with this. Like, I mean, I did, but I don't. If that makes any sense. Like, it's your first guitar, but like I said, it's not like I got good or anything. Like, I'm not saying that I'm good, but, it's not like I, really even learned on this thing. I mean, like I said, I did and I didn't, but like I said, it was just kind of like, I don't know, something just to have, and I never really learned and just, cranked out on this thing and, I don't know, but it was like rusty and would cut my hands and, so at least I did have a little bit of that experience, but, yeah, like I said, I still have it. And that's pretty much it. So, there you go. That was my first guitar. So, now that we've seen my first guitar, this is my first, I guess, real guitar. This is an Ibanez RGIR 20E. I don't know what that means, but it's black. It was a black label edition. So when I was like 15 or 16, and I'd worked my first job, and I had saved up 80% of this guitar. Black label was a check. It had EMGs in it, and Metallica played EMGs, so that was a check. Didn't even know if they were the same thing or whatever. It had a kill switch. So that was a check. It had I thought it was a Floyd Rose, but it's, the Ibanez version, but I didn't even know that that's what that meant. I thought Floyd Rose just meant, like, tremolo. Yeah. So, and it had 24 frets. So that was, everything that, like, 15-year-old me needed. So I don't really play this thing that much anymore. But like I said, there was a lot of cranking on this thing over the years. When I got back into guitar like 3 or 4 years ago, this was the best thing I had. And, there was a lot of nights when I was working nights that I sit at home and would crank out stuff on this thing. So like I said, this thing has a little place. Like I said, I wish I just liked it more and because like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a great guitar. It's just, like I said, I'm kind of spoiled and have other stuff, that sort of does the same thing that I like more. So, like I said, I can't really get rid of this thing because it's sort of the house that built. But like I said, this thing sounds good. But yeah, like I said, this thing I've been through a lot of cranking nights. I remember the time I changed the strings on this thing, and I had no idea that like the Floyd would move because I didn't know what strings were on it. The first time I changed the strings, and I didn't get it, and I put it on, and I didn't understand like the seesaw mechanism, and I had to get a buddy I work with to like take it and do it for me. And like I said, there was a lot of learning on this thing, and this thing is still pretty cool. Yeah, Ibanez. All right, this is my 2023 Wolfgang special made in Japan. I think this is the most expensive guitar the most I paid for a guitar. This thing is absolutely disgusting. I love the neck on it. It's got smaller frets than I usually like, but on this thing it just is absolutely sick. I bought this for myself for a wedding present, and yeah, the only thing is I feel like this thing's so nice I always keep it in the case. I don't really play it, but it does the Van Halen thing if I can get my hands to sort of do the Van Halen thing. But yeah, it's got a kill switch. Like I said, this thing is really sick. I like it. It sounds awesome when you're doing the Van Halen thing. And yeah, like I said, I don't really see a whole lot of people with these. Yeah, like I said, made in Japan. The guy I bought it off of changed out the tuners. But other than that, I think, and they put a JB in the bridge. But like I said, this thing is sick. And the detuner on this thing actually works. So absolutely sick. One of my favorites, probably my, I don't know, it might be tied for first favorite. But the next one might, I don't know, it's close. It's close. All right, so this is a 1989 Washburn EC29. It's because it's got 29 frets. If you can see that, 29. HS configuration. An awesome crackle finish. I don't know if you could tell. This is the only guitar that I own that has a painted neck. That's not normally my thing. But this thing has what's called a Stevens cutaway. You see that? All the way down so you can really get your big meaty paws on there. Yeah, this thing is, well, it's a guitar. This was on my very short list of things that, well, from my understanding is they didn't make a whole lot of these. So they don't come up for sale very often. But I think I got a good deal on this one, even though it needs some work. The frets on this thing are a little rough, a little sharp, kind of sticking up. Somebody refretted it. It feeds back on the pickup. Somebody swapped it out. But like I said, there's not a ton of these. It's still in really good shape. There's a couple of little spots here, but I mean overall, and like probably from where the camera's at, I mean it's pretty flawless. Yeah, I mean an absolutely stunning example of these things. And like I said, they don't come up for sale very often. But yeah, I've always, as soon as I found out that these existed, I wanted one. I think Glenn Fricker on the Hippy Dippy Studios or whatever has one of these, and he restored it or whatever. But yeah, like I said, I think right now on Reverb there's only 3 of these, and one of them's in Greece and the other one's in Egypt or something. But yeah, like I said, I will have somebody probably refret this thing and get this thing to its glory. But like I said, this thing just has the mojo and it's ready to go. I'll never get rid of this. Even if it doesn't, if nobody works on it or I can't get it going, like I said, it looks too great sitting here. I mean, absolutely awesome. Like I said, 29 frets. I think that's going to make a comeback here before long. But yeah, like I said, this thing's absolutely, it's just awesome. I really dig it. Hey, all right. Thanks for watching. Like I said, if you missed part 1, it's in the description down below. Comment and let me know what your favorite guitar that I had on this video or the last video or all together has. Like I said, at Washburn EC29, I don't know. Like I said, Wolfgang, I don't know. It's tough. Like I said, if that Washburn was, in perfect shape, it might be number 1. But like I said, I don't know. But like I said, thank you. Let me know. Appreciate it. Have a good one. Subscribe.